Hey guys, so you're gonna hear me situate myself here. I just thought this would be a really good vantage point, I guess, or viewpoint for you guys for tonight's night owl ramble. You might see my cup of tea steaming there, but this is my altar, as you all know well. I think I'm going to light some incense before I kind of get into what I wanted to talk about. But I'll kind of go first into how I got here. First I need to take a sip of my tea though, because I have a cold. I was only well for about 5 days, and then I came down with another cold because I am the mother of 2 young children, and one of them is in school 5 days a week for half days. So I might cough. Tea is a must. I apologize. So I last night was trimming a tarot deck, which I'll do a video on at some other point. But I needed something to listen to while I was doing this, and I decided to go through some of Kelly-Ann's older videos that I may have missed. Prue is here. She just meowed. Because honestly, she's been on YouTube much longer than I had when I had come back. And there are many of her videos that I missed. And so I don't know why. I was just in a Kelly-Ann kind of mood, and so I decided to go through some of her older videos. And there are a few that I missed that I really kind of wish I had been aware of, even just a few months ago. But all of the messages that she had to say were extremely relevant now as well. Either way, I benefited from it, but it kind of left me in this contemplative state where I was on the cusp of thinking about all these things, and then I clicked on those videos because they were drawing my attention, because she was discussing a lot of the things that I had already been contemplating, in a sense. So I am going to take a sip of my tea, and then I'm going to read something to you guys that I wrote today in my book of mirrors as I've been kind of thinking about a lot of this. Prue is desperate for my attention. I apologize. I don't want to burn my tongue. Alright. So I'm just going to kind of read this to you guys, and then I'll start rambling a little bit more about my thoughts further. I can't believe I'm this far into my book of mirrors, and I only started it right before the new year. Okay. I've struggled the most to keep a consistent balance in my practice. Lately, I have been wondering what exactly that would look like. What do I need that would work for me? I'm starting to understand that it doesn't always have to look the same every day, and it can be different in many different ways. You know, it's terrible when you're dyslexic and you have a hard time reading your own handwriting. You'd think that out of everything, your own handwriting would make the most sense, even to a dyslexic person, but dyslexia does not care. Anyway, I digress. I may struggle sometimes. I may be too tired or busy. I may feel disconnected or stagnant. I have to understand that these things will happen. I also have to understand what exactly I truly hope to achieve by striving for this goal. For years I've been saying that I admire those who integrate their spiritual practice into the mundane. I yearn for that line to blur more. I yearn to feel more connected. I yearn to have a stronger connection to my deities and a stronger resolve in my experiences. I say that I am tired of doubt, but what's the next step? The next step is doing. I know this, and I know this is why I want to feel more connected on a regular basis, because I am aware of this next step. I used to resist working with a personified deity for the longest time, claiming that I was a pantheist because that would be the easiest explanation I could give to someone who wasn't on the same spiritual path as me. It was easier to say that I felt spirit was everywhere than to try and explain to someone what I had worked with a personification of a goddess. I do truly believe that there is a general spirit energy, or a type of collective consciousness, if you will. I believe that there is a universal energy that permeates all things. But I also believe in the personification of deity, because I feel that sometimes it's easier to connect to that on a more personal level. It gives a face to something that can be quite impossible to explain otherwise. I never realized how okay it was to have a hard time explaining something about my spiritual journey to someone else, because honestly, it's unique to me, just as theirs is unique to them. It's okay to struggle with explaining this sometimes. I always felt as though I had... Prue would just stop clawing at my rug. I always felt as though I had to make everything explainable to win the acceptance of others. I don't have to do that. It's okay. I don't need them to understand what I do. I don't need them to accept the things that I do. I accept this. I accept that this journey is for me and not for them. I do not have to prove the legitimacy of my spiritual path to anyone. I'm going to take another sip of my tea just because chest congestion. So, the video that I think struck me the most, there were a few videos of Kelly-Ann's that sort of prompted this video and me really kind of mulling over these thoughts. One of them was a housework ramble that she did where she was discussing pantheism. And, you know, her morphing into working with personified deity. And I had the same, pretty much, I don't want to say the same because everybody's journey is different, but I had a very similar experience. And it was within contemplating this that was brought about by her video that I started to realize that I resisted working with personified deity for so long just because I was trying to win the acceptance of others. And that right there just appalled me now. I thought, what the actual fuck is wrong with me? This is my path. Why do I have to sit there and say to another person that I am a pantheist just because I feel like it would be easier for them to accept or understand? That is not my problem. That is something that is up to them to choose to either accept the information or the opinions that I am giving them of my own spiritual practice and my own experiences, or to not accept it and walk away from it or do what they will with it. But this is for me, and I don't understand why I spent years trying to win the acceptance of others, yet at the same time seeking such independence through my spiritual path. Of course, now that I think about it in a more humorous manner, I'm now realizing that that is my sun sign in Aquarius and my moon sign in Cancer battling each other out. But I just thought that I just never realized that until I watched, yes, Prue, until I watched this video, and then it just clicked on me that that was why. And it was sort of a healing process of me becoming angry and thinking, well, that's just unacceptable now, you know? I'm going to take another sip of my tea. I don't know if you guys can hear, like, the congestion in my voice and whatnot, but I apologize if you can. Then again, maybe I shouldn't apologize because I can't help it when I get sick, especially as a mother of 2 young children. But she is so desperate for my attention. Just love me, human. And the other video that I watched that was of Kelly-Ann's was she was talking about what she does at the altar and sort of a consistency in spiritual practice and the importance of consistency. Even doing spiritual practice when you don't necessarily feel up for it. As you have probably noticed by now in a lot of the videos that I've clearly discussed this more than once, that this is something that I strive for. I just wrote about it in the passage that I read you guys from my Book of Mirrors. And I strive for more connection. I strive for more consistency in my spiritual path because I feel more myself when I can provide myself with this. But I don't necessarily know what that should look like. And I think I'm clinging to this idea that it needs to be the same every day, which now that I look at that, I find that a bit ridiculous, because I feel like in order for me personally to form a habit, I have to be able to have flexibility to change it up, especially with the chaos of my mundane life. Would you stop? Being a stay-at-home mother, hardly ever having any time to myself unless they are asleep. I'm not sure what she's going on about. I don't have a whole lot of time throughout my day, and I'm surprised that even through the last year I have kept a consistency with drawing a tarot card every day. But the one thing that I'm starting to realize doing this for a year is that I sort of absentmindedly draw one over a cup of coffee, and then I try my best to find the moments throughout the day. It does pop up back and forth, but the process of doing so is very monotonous, and I don't feel my intuition kicking on the way that I think it maybe should. But I'm struggling with understanding if I just have a misconception of what that's supposed to be, or if I am not putting my intent, there's that word, into what truly needs to be, if I'm not focusing. And I struggle with this. I struggle with this because I struggle with doubt, and doubt is the hardest thing for me to let go of. It's almost like I have an unhealthy addiction to doubt. And I say that I'm sick of it, but I want to understand what the next step is. And as I wrote in my Book of Mirrors today, the next step is doing. So, last year I did a really, really good video on letting go of doubt. And I still stand by everything I say, but I am a human being, and it is one of those things that is extremely hard to let go of. But I have nothing to prove to anybody else. When it comes to my personal relationships with my personified deity and my own spiritual practice, this is for me. It is not for anyone else. And I think if I really explore that thought process, it might help me have a more solid ground to stand on. I really need to take another sip of my tea. I am coming to you guys at my altar, in a place that's very sacred to me, with something that's sort of raw, in a sense, through my own spiritual contemplations, my own shortcomings, my own struggles, because I hope to show you guys that we all struggle. And just because I have been pagan since I was 15 and I'm about to turn 34 on Thursday, it's not perfect and never is. And I think I will spend the rest of my life sort of striving for this. But I also need to understand that I can't put my my spiritual goals on an unobtainable pedestal that I will never reach. I have to find places where I can expand, and I'm perfectly fine with that, but I also have to find a good balance between that and setting the bar too high that I just can't reach it. And the other reason I'm sharing this with you guys is to also show you that you are not alone in these thoughts, that if you are going through something similar where you're struggling to feel connected and to stay connected, and what should that look like for you, or how can you hold faith in working with personified deity, or whatever works for you in your path. It's okay to struggle, it's okay to doubt, and it's okay to resist, but it's also okay to let go. So I'm gonna go pet my cat obsessively now because she is very focused on getting my attention. But I hope that I made some sense in this ramble tonight. I just really wanted to come to you guys with these thoughts because they have been brewing up in my head all day, and I had done my best to articulate them throughout several times in the day, and it just didn't go the way that I wanted, but that's okay. I do feel more confident about my thought process here, but I will link the videos that sparked all of this that were done by Kelly-Ann in the description box down below, and I think that's all I've got for you guys tonight. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this Night Owl Ramble, and blessed be.